Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Mythgard in Middle-earth. I am Corey Olson, the Tolkien Professor, your host as always, joined, as is usual, by my friend Gryfflet, whom you see, like, leave him to himself for a minute, and he goes right back to the dance party here in Floodwend. Floodwend is clearly Gryfflet's favorite town in Rohan so far, as there is by far the most active nightlife here in Floodwend. But anyway, we gotta focus, Gryfflet, because you are almost done here in the Wold. He has completed the the majority of the quests in the Wold. He's got to go turn in his quests up here at the tower. So stop dancing, Gryfflet, and get back to business here. You've got a kingdom to save, Middle-earth to rescue, all this kind of thing. So, you know, a little dance party every now and again. Doesn't hurt. Okay. So, let's see if Gryfflet can trot carry on through. Actually, he's walking carry on now. Let's see. Pretty soon we're going to have to do that advance the epic, but I'm not going to do that till we're headed out to Elfingels for good and well here. Yeah, you, Alwald, and your silly race. We'll get there. But in the meantime, heading back to turn in all those quests that we completed at the Easterling camp. Time to see that captain eat some crow about how much good a single burglar could do. Or rather, how much wanton destruction a single burglar could wreak in an Easterling camp. All right. So here we are at the North Tor. Whoop. Go on, Gryfflet. You missed him. There we go. Okay. Sergeant Guthfirth. Look at all this. 6 quests to turn in. Oh, yeah, we set fire to a bunch of things. That's right. Oh, Gryfflet is totally leveling up here in this set of quests. Defeated a bunch of Easterling horsemen. Yep. Taught them a lesson. I absolutely did. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yes, we saved the horses. That's right. We're not going to leave them behind to be slaves of the enemy. Thought you'd appreciate that one. Okay, I think this one's going to do it. No ordinary Easterling guards. They were the elite guard for the Nazgul, who serves as general in command. That's right. And we briefly scared him off, too. Well, I say scared. Not quite sure that's fair. No, thank you for the summer festival just now. And let's keep going. Oh, yeah, we defeated a bunch of sorcerers. Yeah, no problem. And we set fire to the tower. Okay. All right. Ooh, we got a helmet. Tower Assaulter's helm, huh? Okay. Leggings of the Frightening Foe. Oh, come on, I might have to get that just for name alone. Flame-resistant hat is kind of lame. But Leggings of the Frightening Foe? Oh, come on. Who doesn't want Leggings of the Frightening Foe? Okay. Woohoo! Look at all that leveling. Okay, oh, good, you've read the battle plans. The foes are already on the move towards Floodwend. Make haste, return to the Thane, and tell them of the approaching Easterlings and their friends from Mordor. Will do. But hang on, first, I've got to level up Carry On here. Okay, building up his strength. He's almost fully statted. That's good. Okay. Excellent. Excellent work, Gryfflet. Now, let's see. I agree, Phil. Let's see what those pants look like here. Hang on a second. And let's... Not much, apparently. Their name is cooler than their appearance, it would seem. Okay. Let's see. Are you supposed to hear the game sounds? Well, at least a little bit, I would think. Let me see. But I probably have the game sounds turned pretty far down. I often do. Let's see. Oh, yeah, master volume is pretty low. Sound effect volume is even lower. Yeah, it's all right. I don't like a lot of background noise. I like to be able to hear the voices of people, but... Oh, okay. All right, here we are. Headed back towards Floodwend. Yeah, I am a bit louder than usual. Glad you noticed, because actually I've been... people have been telling me I've been really quiet. So I wanted to see if I can improve on that. Don't want people having to strain to hear. Hey, is this a ruin over here? Woo! Ha-ha! Stop just short of the cliff. Look at that. Did there used to be a wall? Oh, would you knock it off, Mr. Warg? Seriously, who cares? There are ruins to be looked at. Did you see that one wall? Oops. That's going to hurt when I land. All right, no problem. Yeah. Huh. You can see the ruins of the walls all the way through here. So this used to be... What? Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I'm totally stopping by Eorl's Hallow. I'm just doing my normal thing where I like to make sure I'm done with the quests in the area before I want to make sure that none of the quests are going to lead me there. Because I don't want to have to, I don't have to double back. I want to go in the normal flow of the narrative. That's what I like to let the narrative bring me along rather than just hunting after things. But I'll definitely make a side trip if we don't, if we're not sent there. Anyway, all right, Rodwig. Here we go. The Easterlings are coming. I do not care what allies they have. They will not take the city while I yet live. Let them come. Okay. That's good. What do you think about that, Edda? Ready ourselves for battle. Yes. You're not afraid your sword is ready. Oh, this could end very badly. Help you keep your mother in this mead hall safe. Okay.
The Easterlings have regrouped and are poised to assault Floodwend. The attack comes as success is reported to Rodwig. Yet now the town finds itself in a struggle to keep the mead hall from falling to the enemy.
We're not even going to try to defend the walls. We're just... Okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't pick and choose which chapters to read in what order. Yeah, no. Not so much. Not so much. Okay. All right. All right. Ooh, Thane Rod. Oh, look at that. Mom's got a sword. Whoa. Mom's got a sword, too. Armor might have been a good idea, too. But anyway, here's Rodwig. He's ready to go.
What business have you with the
It is time to brace for battle. I can already hear the sounds of war outside. We must take a stand here and ensure it does not fall as Langhold did. Yeah, let's see if we can be 1 for 2 on defending the towns of Rohan here. Alright, I'm going to stealth up, get ready. Oh wait, leave this hall at once and go... Oh wait, no, they're too sorry. I'm missing the conversation. It is your duty to stand between Rodwig and any who dare to threaten him. Oh, he was trying to command them to go out and defend the town. The townsfolk need protection. Oh, yeah. Don't worry, you've got me. Ooh, he's laying down the law. This is good. Let me try this again. Get out. If you do not do the duty your Thane assigned you at once and protect your people, I will throw you in the stocks when this battle is done. Oh, the gloves are coming off, man. Don't listen to Mama anymore. You gotta listen to your Thane. Mama's not gonna be happy about this. Reminds me of his father does that one. Edda, he's clearly correct. I'm not a boy any longer, mother. I am responsible for my father's people. That's right. He's being a good Thane. Yes, it is hard to see your son become a true Thane. Oh, good. You're proud of him. That's right. Don't worry. You've got me to protect you. What's the worst that could happen? I have an excellent track record. Okay, I'm going to go back over here near the door. Whoop. Hi. Great. So how about we do this? Don't worry, Rodwig, I got you. You're going to be all set. Oop, we got another archer over here. Don't worry, I got him. I'll get him. Don't trouble yourself, Rodwig. Okay. I think my stealth isn't going to work because I'm wounded. No problem. Yeah, let's hope Rodwig can take... No. Yeah, he's shooting at Rodwig. I better... Oh, look at that. Took him down both at once. That was kind of sweet. And now I can get positional advantage on you. Lovely. Rodwig and I totally have this. I guess I just have to pretty much tank for Rodwig, so I'll just stand here. Yeah, stealth isn't really doing anything. Uh-oh. Where's the other dude? Just ran right past me. Okay, no problem. Okay, Rodwig's doing great. No worries. Time to have a little snack. Enjoying a meal while waiting for the next wave of it. No, well. They just come right in and interrupt me before they even get a chance to attack. Who's this guy? Oh, it's the captain. Nice. Ah, two can play at that stunning game, sir. Oh, yeah. It was too easy. What of our people? Yeah, let's go check. Uh-oh. That doesn't look good. Oh, phew. They were worried that you didn't survive. Getting 3 cheers, you're as great a warrior as your father. Oh, a happy ending. I love a happy ending.
Our mission is dire.
Floodwend still stands. They are truly driven off. Excellent. I was, okay. So we've got a little fire. Somebody needs to put out that fire. What's burning? The bridge? Oh, no, there's a barricade that's set up. And the barricade is on fire. And, oh, no, those... seems to be friendly smoke, actually. Okay. Hey, here's the town largely unburned down. Fantastic. Couldn't have managed without me? Well, I'm particularly good at protecting things and keeping them alive. Okay. Don't think I would have embraced my responsibilities with such confidence if you had not been here to show me the way a true leader, a true warrior must be. Oh, well, that's very nice of you to say that. Oh, here we are, back in the meat hall. You did a great job. And yes, it's important to protect your kids from safety, but you gotta let him do his job, man. Okay. I fought courageously, and I'd be proud to fight by your side any day. Oh, that's excellent. Oh, a cloak with a shirt on it. Yeah. Oh, it's actually an upgrade. Ooh, and I got the wold headdress there. Nice. I think I'm going to take that cloak. I think I'm going to equip that cloak. Yes, sir. Okay. Very good. And now I bet you that Carry-On's Wold cosmetics are complete. Let's see. Now we could do body, wold stuff, and head, wold stuff. Oh, yeah, looking sharp. Right. There's a little wold leg stuff. Light saddle of the wold. Yeah, yeah. And oh, that's not the tail of the wold, but that's okay. Yeah, looking good. Let's definitely oh, darn it. Okay, let's make it outfit 2. Sorry. Okay. Or wait, I'm doing it wrong. Oh, I did not hit apply. Okay, that was my problem. Apply. Yes. Okay. Excellent. And then traits, we're still good. We're still good. Okay. Woohoo! Yes, I do need to make my cosmetics match his. It's so true. Well, I will work on that as we move forward. I fought back the Easterling assault and devastated the orcs encamped in the forest nearby who came from the East Wall. A party left for East Wall to investigate the orc presence there, and you should find them to continue what you started here. Didn't I already do that? Wasn't I already in the East Wall? Isn't that where Mansig's encampment was? Look for Lamon just over the border with East Wall. He traveled with Mansig and may be able to tell you where they are encamped. Well, I already talked to Mansig.
The Rohirrim will need your aid.
Are they doubling back? It's really weird that the narrative flow would double back like that. Do they just do this because they're not assuming that you were following the epic? Because, of course, the epic takes you down to the area of Mansig's encampment first. So are they just covering their bases in case you didn't get there the first time? Okay, I see. All right. Well. All right. Traders from the western towns were once a common sight. Of late, troubles falling between Thane Mildrith and the people of Elthingels seem to have stalled all travel. A loss of supplies from the Norcrofts will have a terrible impact. Okay, so I should go to the Norcrofts. Vector to the Norcrofts. Got it. Okay. Okay. Look at that. 2 quests, 2 vectors in 2 different directions. Well, that's fine. Let's see. Oops, that's just not what I was looking for. Ooh. Who needs a reforge? Well, might as well reforge that. As you see, my my legendary slots are almost all empty now, because a bunch of the ones that I was just leveling up got up to the top levels, and I dismantled them. So I'm in the market as I go along to see if I can find many more burglars things that I can level up with me as I go. Get some more relics there. Might as well pop in and reforge that thing while I'm here.
Welcome, my friend.
Okay, yeah, once ooh, get to reforge my bridle too. Didn't notice that. Rittermark skill healing. Rittermark skill power cost. Yes. Oh no, wait, I'm not using Rohirrim skill. Am I? Again, the mounted skills and the mounted legendaries are still... I am still confused. Okay. All right. No, I think we're good. Don't worry, Corridon. Someday soon. Now, so okay, I have nothing but vector quests now in the Epic, I believe, which is also a race to Elfingel. So let me do this. I'm going to go out. I'm not going to worry about that East Wall quest, because I've already been there. So let's go to Eorl's Hallow, shall we, since we're apparently not going to be sent there, as we're now getting all of our vectors to other regions, including Norcroft. And Carrion, can I just say you are looking attractive right now. Look at that. That is very sharp. Okay. Where am I going? I don't know. Yeah, well, yeah, more or less in this direction. Maybe there are some warbands who need a lesson taught to them. Who's Hanrun again? Haven't I dealt with him before? Well, I'll accept it in case I stumble into him. Okay. That's fine. All right, what have we here? Oh, Pine Leaf. Yeah, I just passed the epic quest person because I don't want to race off to Elfingels yet. I want to come here. Oh. Let's dismount. Okay. Eorl's Hollow. So we have two ceremonial... Ooh, nice sculpture. Oh, I love it. The relief sculpture of Eorl and Felaroth. That is gorgeous. Ooh, and we've got... Oh, this is great. Okay, hang on. Tell me that these scenes form a narrative. Do these scenes form a narrative, or do they repeat? No. No. Okay, where do we start? Oh, man. Gotta brush up on my Anglo-Saxon runes. This looks like the Oath of Eorl. Yeah, this looks like the... Yeah, Zach, I don't think I've been here either before. Oh, I love how the stones, the colored stones are placed here into the shape of the horse. That's awesome. I mean, I kind of noticed it, but I didn't fully process it when I came in. That's lovely. Okay. All right, hang on. Hang on. So the first thing I want to do, I want to just look at the pictures. See which pictures I can identify before anything else. Then I'll look at the runes. Okay, so that looks like the Oath of Eorl, probably. Now we have, okay, there is, now we have, of course, the establishment of the throne of Rohan. So is this going to be like a history of Rohan or of Eorl? It can't be a history of Eorl specifically, or else it would start before the oath, certainly. Oh, and now we have a son, right? So now we have so first we had the oath taking, then we had sitting on the throne. Now we have the generational pass down. We've got the venerable king over here handing a sword to what looks like his son. Let's hope. Oh dear. Well, this is less good. So we have someone being slain in battle. Oh, that's very unhappy. What exactly is that horse doing? Is it leaping over something? Or stomping on someone? Yes, I'm always keen to look for myself and try to puzzle out the images, especially before I look at the spoilers. Okay. Receiving the red arrow. So this would be a Gondorian soldier. And then the ride. And then the arrival at the Battle of Celebrant. Okay. So the sequence there is pretty clear. So let's say, this must be the beginning then, which would depict Eorl finding Felaroth. So this is when Eorl sort of first establishes his relationship with Felaroth, right? And then we have Eorl the Young receiving the red arrow from Gondor, and then we have Eorl the Young and Felaroth riding forth, sounding his horn. Let's go to the rescue and respond to the summons from the red arrow. And now we arrive at the field of Celebrant and slay the Easterling, suspiciously Easterling-looking warrior at the Battle of Celebrant. Then we come around here. Okay, now we have the oath, right? After the battle, and then we have Eorl established as king, which is great, and then we have the succession, and then Eorl's death in battle, right? His glorious death in battle. This would be Baldur. Is this Baldur the Tragic? No. Brago? Builder of the Hall? Yeah, Brago. Right. Yes. Okay, Brago, Builder of the Hall, because it's Brago's son who is Baldur. Yeah, okay. I gotta make sure I'm remembering my genealogies correctly. Okay. Right, so then he hands ready to hand things off to his heir, Brago, and then dies in battle. Okay, all right. Events from the life of Eorl, which is what I was expecting to find, but now, of course, we've gone through and been able to figure out the proper sequence. Okay, oh, look at that. And we've got all of the symbols of the different towns. Oh, no, that's just wold symbols. Okay, because this is so this is this his actual burying place? I mean, is Eorl actually laid to rest here? I love these carvings. we've almost never seen carvings like this. And of course it's fitting because these are of course quite recent carvings. We very rarely see, and normally when we're looking at carvings, we're looking at carvings on buildings that are meant to be several thousand years old, right? So these carvings are only 500 years old. Okay, yes, right, he fell in battle here in the wold, right? He fell in battle in the wold. That's the phrase that's specifically used, as I recall, in Appendix A. Okay, so this is his actual death spot. So he was laid to rest here. Where is his body interred, I wonder? That is, there's no bier. I mean, in here, presumably? What is this? What's heaped up against his tomb? It looks like hair? The braids are, yeah, they look like horsehair braids. I'm trying to figure if this is his actual tomb site, if his body is actually interred within this wall, and then the sculpture, the relief sculpture on the outside, are these sort of tributes that are left for him, I guess? They must be, because they're obviously new. They're not old. When I say new versus old, what I'm thinking of is like something that would have been set up at the time of his interment, right? Something like, the memorials of his vanquished foes or something like that, yeah. Well, who doesn't want beer at the tomb site, JJ? But no, of course. That is not the beer I am speaking of. Are those meant to be swords that these dudes are holding? Or torches? Not sure what they're supposed to be holding. Spears? The bottom halves of spears? This is more of a light beer, is it? Yeah. Yeah, I think people leaving tributes would make sense. Oh, I love how from this angle you can see how the horses, how Felarov's head is like emerging from the, it's a generally a relief sculpture, but the way the horse's head is emerging is really cool. Because Felarov would be buried here too, so Eorl and Felarov would both be buried in the wall there, which is why it would be such a large tomb, and also why there wouldn't be a bier, because then he would just be lying by himself, right? And of course he wants to be buried with his horse. He and Felarov were buried together, so that makes much more sense. Yeah. I like that. Or is it just a memorial? Do they have barrows at Edoras? Were their bodies actually taken back there? And this is only a memorial? Is that why there's no... Yeah, no, I mean, Edoras hadn't been... The Meduseld hadn't been built yet. I mean, I could imagine his body being here. We'll have to see when we get there. All right. Let's see. I say my Anglo-Saxon runes are rusty. Let's see. Right. So this says Felarov. Let's see. Oh boy, to translate, because this is going to be in Anglo-Saxon too, isn't it? Okay, double translation is probably going to be a little too much for me to do spontaneously by sight here. Right. Yeah. Sure, yeah, if you could copy them in, that'd be great. I can read them in Anglo-Saxon, but again, trying to translate from runes, to transliterate the runes first and then translate the Anglo-Saxon is going to be challenging. So let's see. So, Failerofes, right? That's the ending of his name. Failerofes yetemid leodas reked. Right. Yep. So this is when Failerof is so that's not Eorl. This is when Failerof kills Eorl's father. Right. Yeah, you're right. Mike Trout almost certainly did write these. Well, I mean, Chris Pearson is pretty good with Anglo-Saxon too. Most likely. Oh, wait. I missed one. There it is. Sorry. Right. Read Stral Stanlendingas Ladung. So the Stanlendingas, of course, are the stone lendings, right? Remember that that word is almost just transliterated in the main text, right? The stone lendings is their name for the for the Gondorians, right? Stone land, they call it. Exactly. Gondor. It's just a translation. That's what Gondor, of course, means in Sindarin. Yes. And the guy on the right is Barondir. Yeah, the guy who delivered the red arrow. Right. Yeah. I love his supplicating stance, right? One of the things that's important to keep in mind when you're looking at images like this and when you're like thinking about making images like this, remember that this is something that a lot of people misunderstand about the Middle Ages, for instance. That is to say, people hear things, perfectly true things, like most people in the Middle Ages were illiterate, and think that that means that they knew nothing, right? They didn't know nothing. They were illiterate. They could not read, but that doesn't mean that they did not receive stories, right? That they did not receive, like, they knew a lot of things. It's just they did not rely upon print, because there was no print, right? When you're in a preprint culture, the written word is inefficient, and there's no advantage to the general populace for them to be able to read. They're very rarely going to be confronted with documents, like paper documents that they're going to need to read. So, of course, the two primary modes of the conveying of information, right, the conveying of history, were oral stories, of course, hugely important, and even written documents, which would be read publicly so that lots of people could hear stories and hear the documents. You don't need more than one person in a town often, and that's usually what happened, right? There would be one person in a town, like the parish priest, who was literate, and anything that needed reading, you'd bring it to the parish priest, and he'd read it, usually publicly, right? So everyone could hear it. So a lot of works of medieval literature were read, but they were consumed orally, right, by the people. And a lot of times this is this kind of image, especially the kind of action that they put in this image, I think they've done a really good job imitating that particular form of medieval art. You see this most commonly in church windows. I love medieval stained glass imagery. because it's almost always narrative in form. So there will be single images or chains of images which tell Bible stories. So it's like, were the medieval peasants, and again, people will say like, medieval peasants didn't have the opportunity to like know the Bible for themselves because they couldn't read and it was in Latin. It wasn't even in their language. Well, first of all, they couldn't read their own language anyway. Second of all, they had the Bible stories. They just, again, they didn't have a book at home that they read. So yeah, JJ, you were thinking of the stained glass in cathedrals too. Absolutely. It's my favorite thing to do whenever I go to a cathedral, is look at the stained glass, try to understand, my wife is always like looking at the guide things and stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm keen to guess, going to each of the windows and seeing if you can work out, okay, what is the story? Anyway, the fact that this is not just a kind of a very simple tableau, right? This is clearly a narrative thing. And again, this whole thing works out very, very interestingly, right? Where you have, not only does each one of these images conveys a narrative direction, right, of the story. And of course, then you put them all together and it gives the larger history, which is not just episodes in one single story, right? Like different segments of a comic book or something like that. But it has, each one has its own narrative, right? And so they do a really good job here. This one in particular reminds me of that a lot, where they do a really great job of conveying the movement here. You can see that the guy from the Stoning Land here on the right-hand side is, bowing in supplication. He's coming. Look at Eorl standing there. Look at his posture, right? And his reaching out to grasp the arrow, putting his hand over the messenger's hand, right? So he is sort of showing his authority, taking responsibility for the charge that has been laid to him. His right hand is on his sword, showing his preparedness for battle and action. His upright posture and the sort of the nodding of his head, right? You see him kind of condescending to the messenger from Gondor, like, yes, I'm not staring off into space and ignoring you. I am looking down upon you and I am hearing what you say. His eye, the direction of his eyes like goes straight to the face of the Gondorian messenger and right through the top of the arrow, right? So he's looking at the arrow, he's looking at the messenger. He is regal in bearing, ready for action, firmly taking responsibility. And then there's the Gondorian guy, right, holding out the arrow, but holding out the arrow in this upright way, right? He's not just kind of handing it to him or something. He's holding it up. It lies between them, right? The arrow. So you can see this is sort of like, it's like the dividing point of this image, right? It's kind of the pivot point of the entire image. And though, of course, you also see how imbalanced it is, the outline emphasizes that this is not a symmetrical picture, right? Because, again, the messenger coming to supplicate Eorl the Young is not on the same footing with him, right? So the Eorl side is bigger than the other side. But you see him, look at he's in motion. His right foot is like the heel is up as if he has just run in. He is in the process of rushing in with this message, right? He does not look relaxed. He's not just standing. He's all stooped over, also as if he's weary from a long journey. His left hand is open. Again, as if to add a sort of not just the kind of imperative that is made by the upright arrow in between them, right? They're like, see, look at this. Here is this between us. Are you going to abide? Are you going to answer the call of Gondor to battle? But his left hand shows this like personal supplication, right? Please, we need help. And his, like the way that his head is stooped down and everything as well, not only showing the stooping of his shoulders and his weariness, but there's something almost begging. He's not fully begging. He's not on his knees or anything like that. You know, he still sort of retains dignity, but is clearly in a very sort of subordinate posture there. I love the way that his cloak is kind of billowing out behind him too, again, as if to suggest the speed with which he has rushed in. And you're right, Phil. He's looking at Eorl. He's not bowing his head to the ground, but also notice he's not looking Eorl in the face. He's staring straight at Eorl's chest, and Eorl is looking down at his face, but he's not looking up at Eorl's face either. But as you say, he's not looking down. He's in this kind of middle place, right? Where, he's not like, he's not begging, but he's also not commanding. Very clearly not commanding either. So I just love this image in the way that it conveys all of these things. And let's actually, in contrast, let's go right over to the Oath one, where we get the two figures again, right? This time here's Eorl. Hang on a second, is his helmet the same? Right, brief question here. Okay, he's not wearing a helmet, of course, in this. So here he's unhelmed as well. Right, so he's not on the battlefield. He is at home in his hall, right? Has his sword, but not his helm. Whereas here, he is helmed, right? So this is both of them are helmed. So the idea is that this is it's being conveyed as if it's like a battlefield thing. We know it's not exactly on the. We're not given any indication of the battlefield, right? There's no corpses around. There's no river there, right? In fact, they're up. We know this to not have happened right on the battlefield, right? He was taken up to a special place in order to have this oath taken, as is conveyed by the trees in the background, right? This is the holy forest that he's being taken up into by Cirion the steward. So what do we see here? We see, look at Eorl's posture. He's kneeling to take his oath because he's taking an oath of fealty. Right, but he has his hands crossed, showing his pledge and his promise. But also he's not, we don't see him with his hand on his sword or anything like that. We see his sword, right? His sword is important because he's, taking the oath to come to Cirion in battle. So he is armored and he's helmed and he he's armed and armored and helmed, and we can see the horsehair plume on the back of his helm. But notice also that he's looking up. At Cirion as well, right? He, unlike the Gondorian messenger, he's not staring straight at Cirion's midriff, nor is he looking down at the ground. He is staring up, meeting him eye to eye as they're making this oath, because although he is swearing an oath of fealty and so is appropriately kneeling, an oath of fealty is a mutual thing, and so you do look in the eyes. Of course, in medieval tradition, the most common way to seal an oath of fealty is with a kiss, a mouth-to-mouth kiss. You would kiss your king on the mouth, because again, it's a mutual thing, sealed with a kiss. By the way, that's kind of. I'm not saying that like all modern romantic kissing has its origin there, but the specific significance that kisses had in the romantic tradition, in the courtly love tradition, and all the stuff, Shakespeare and Jane Austen and everything else all ultimately came through the courtly love stuff in the Middle Ages. That was based on the kiss of fealty with your overlord. It was like a joke, actually, like when the lady gave you the kiss of promise. It doesn't just mean like she fancies you. It meant it was a deliberate parallel with the kiss of fealty. Like she is like your lord and master who has bestowed the fealty kiss upon you and therefore accepted you as her vassal. But anyway, yeah. Okay, so and look at Cirion here. Cirion is holding his right hand out, but notice the gesture is different from the Gondorian messenger, right, whose hand was kind of, as he was crouched over, it was much more of a supplication. His right hand, actually both of Kirian's hand gestures here seem to me kind of interesting. I'm not sure what he's doing with his left hand. I think he's just holding his hand up, right? Like as if he's bestowing a blessing. It's not turned out this way though. He's sort of turned, his hand is kind of turned inward. As if he's speaking now, I think, is what we're seeing. Eorl, I think, is not speaking in this. Based on the hand gestures from Kirian, it looks like he is in the middle of saying his half of the oath. Which, if you think about it, in the context of Eorl's Hallow, is a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because the thing they would choose to commemorate here is that... is Kirian's response to the oath, right? That's kind of interesting. I would have expected Kirian to... I would have expected Eorl to be doing something more with his hands if he were speaking. Like if this was Eorl in the act of uttering his oath, I would have expected him to be doing something with his hands to indicate that. Somebody speaking and offering their oath, with his arms crossed like that. With his arms crossed, he looks like he is receiving instead of giving or promising. Yeah. So, here's my theory then. The reason that we are showing that gesture with the right hand, I don't think his left hand is on his heart, Phil. First of all, because it's kind of awkward and weird to put your left hand on your heart, especially when his elbow is in like that. You kind of can't without like punching yourself in the face. You kind of have to do this with your arm sticking out to put your left hand on your heart. One reason why, of course, the traditional hand over the heart gesture is usually with the right hand, just because anatomically speaking, given the length of your forearm and the width of your chest, it's usually what works best. Now, that's not to say that they have to maintain the bodily proportions all perfectly in these images, but they haven't been doing too freaky things with the proportions of people's bodies in these pictures, as sometimes happens in medieval drawings, because usually the symbolic import of the thing is more important than the verisimilitude. That's why sometimes medieval pictures look so weird. Not because they were just incompetent and didn't know how to draw things, but they had a totally different set of values, right? They put most emphasis within the image on what was most important, on what they were trying to convey. And they often really didn't care if it looked what we would call realistic, right? But these are relatively realistic figures. Anyway, that right hand gesture that Kirian is making, he's holding out his right hand with his hand open and his palm up, which I think in this case, with his right hand there, this is a giving gesture. That is to say, what is happening there, I think, is designed to set up directly what happens here, which is the gift of Calanarthan, right? Specifically is, I think, what is... is what's being depicted here. And so in that context, it makes more sense, right? Yes, the Oath of Eorl the Young is really important, but in a sense, even more important in the context of the larger career of Eorl the Young and history of Rohan is not the oath that he made, but what happened as a consequence of that oath, and is what Kirian did in response to that oath in bestowing upon him the land of Rohan. Of Calanarthan, right? So that, I think, is what we're seeing here specifically. We are specifically seeing Kirian's response to his oath. The oath has happened, Eorl's oath, the fact that he's kneeling, his, the fact that he's standing or kneeling with arms folded, looking up directly into Kirian's face, suggests that he is receiving back here, and he is. So he is receiving back here, and so Kirian is explaining that the thing that he's doing in his left hand, it looks like a sort of not like a teaching gesture. It's not like the like this one that you see. Like a lot of times when you see icons, well, it would be with the right hand. When you see icons of Jesus, he's often holding up his fingers like this, and that's like a teaching gesture, like just like I am here to teach you. He's not doing that. He's doing this, which looks more expository, like he's speechifying here. And I think that what he's speechifying about is the gift of Calanarthan. So I think this means I'm talking and this means I'm giving, is how I interpret the gestures of his two hands. So we have the bond between them, but more specifically, the passing off of the passing off of the land of Rohan. But hang on, I'm skipping around. Let me go back to the beginning for a second. This is too much fun. I love interpreting images. Like I say, I'll stand there. I stand there for long periods of time in cathedrals, looking at stained glass. Whenever I visit a new cathedral, new to me, I mean. Okay, so if this is Fëloraf and Leofa, Eorl's father, then we have see he's got no saddle. Right, there is a bridle, but he's like, he's trying to break the young horse. He is about to be thrown from the horse and die. He's going to get killed when he strikes his head upon a stone. And you can see the motion lines, right? Look at the motion lines around the hooves of Fëloraf, right? Fëloraf is clearly in the middle of bucking motion. Interesting that they do not depict the death or anything. You think this is Eorl taming Fëloraf? No, it can't be. First of all, Leofa's mentioned in the inscription, but second, this never happened. Fëloraf submits to Eorl. Eorl hunts him down, and remember, his companions think that he's going to kill him, kill the horse, because the horse killed his father. Right, that he's going to take vengeance, and instead he steps out and he says, "Come forward, man's bane." Right, and he lays a weregild on him, right? He says, "You will you owe me a weregild for my father's death, and you will sacrifice your freedom." And Fëloraf submits to him. So Eorl never has to tame Fëloraf. Fëloraf submits to him. So I think that this is, but that's really sort of the beginning that's the beginning of Eorl's relationship with him. So that's my question is it's possible, given that it's Eorl's Hallow, it is possible that it is Eorl that is depicted here. But again, that's not what was ever described in the text. I'm kind of forced to two different conclusions. One would be, wouldn't it be odd to show his father at his Hallow? Well, no, I don't think so. In general, I wouldn't think so. But he never, this doesn't happen with Eorl and Fëloraf. So one of two things is the case here. Either when they either when they depicted this, they told a different version of the story than is told in Appendix A. It is possible that they might want to, I don't know. Eorl's story as it's depicted in Appendix A, to me, is awesome. Way better than I tamed the great wild horse version of the story. Because again, that's not how the story is depicted in Appendix A. Him stepping forth and just calling Fëloraf to come to him, and Fëloraf doing it, and then submitting to him, is to me like that is way more boss than just like I tamed the wild horse. Fëanor in he was seeking vengeance for his father, but he just demanded it and it was given to him. That is so much cooler, but it wouldn't look as dramatic on an image. So is this like an alternative? That's why I was thinking it must be Leva on the back of the horse. But although I don't think it would be too weird to depict his father, I do think that it would seem to be a little bit out of keeping as episode 1. I mean, it's the death of Leva is more like the prequel than the first episode of Eorl's career. It could be something like just their first ride, Phil. That would be one way to kind of reconcile it. It makes it harder for me to reconcile the fact that Fëanor totally looks like he's attempting to buck him off here. I don't know. I guess I can get behind it. To me, I don't like it. And you can tell I don't like it. And what I don't like about it, the reason I want it to be something else, and I'm trying to see if I can interpret it in another way, is because that's always been one of my favorite parts of the story of Eorl. How everyone else expects him to shoot the horse from hiding, and he just steps out and calls to the horse and makes a demand, and the horse answers him and submits. That is, I think, so much cooler than just a taming scene, but it probably is depicting that. Wouldn't you think that on the one hand, I could see, people who are trying to commemorate Eorl's life might have, exaggerated a bit, or again, depicted an alternative version where he caught Fëanor and tamed him more forcibly, more sort of traditionally, and that they, as a, horse training people, would have wanted that, would have liked that. I don't know. But at the same time, I can make exactly the same argument in the other direction, basically, to say, I would think, as a horse-loving people as they are, the kind of immediate rapport that he established with Fëanor in those circumstances is much cooler. Well, as far as his attire goes, Druid's Fire, it's hard because he's armed. I mean, he's not wearing armor, as you sort of wouldn't expect in any circumstances, really, no matter who it was here, because it's not a battle picture in any case. I mean, that it is a first, this first ride with Fëanor. Okay. Well, Phil. Yeah. I know Eorl is the national hero, but that's my problem. That's my problem, is that I would have thought that the commanding the servant of, I would have expected a picture of him with his hand out in a commanding gesture and Fëanor coming to him. Right, look how wild Fëanor looks, right? He's kind of shaggy, right? And his mane and tail are everywhere. Like the wild, untamed Fëanor coming to his hand, right, as he stands there with a commanding gesture. That's totally how I would have depicted it, right? And I would have thought that still would have been, very national hero-like. But this is a more striking image, certainly, and showing him as excellent horseman itself maybe justifies it. I don't know. But anyway, for these reasons, this is definitely my least favorite image. I talked about for quite a while. There we go. Okay. So now here we have Fëanor going into battle. Of course, he doesn't have a saddle here either. And so here he's riding. Look at Fëanor with his head down, right, and his eyes forward, charging. We have the river, right? We see them charging into or at the river, blowing his horn with his crest and his hair and his cloak and the horse's tail all streaming out behind in this like rippling, and the horse's mane, right? All the backwards rippling. This is definitely a fourth Eorlingas moment. Yeah. So he's riding over the Lang flood, right? The Eothiod is rad over Wadung Lang flood. Yeah, so they're charging over the Lang flood. His sword in his right hand, pointing forward, announcing the charge. The horn in his left. Yeah, this is a simple but really nice image. And then the action shot. Notice, of course, we have him stabbing the Easterling. Look at the Easterling's curved scimitar, his little slippers, his face mask, and his pointy helm, right? You've got him stabbing, so he's not using a spear. He's stabbing with his sword. You've got Faelorov looking like he's ready to take care of business there too. One of the things that I think that we can see here, of course, this is designed in large part to be a symbolic image, right? Like this Easterling is sort of standing for the Easterlings as a whole, who is notice how he's toppling backwards, almost like he's like made of stone and just kind of falling over, right? This is like the Easterling army collapsing and being driven back. But also notice he's on foot, right? And look how pitiful he looks. He's armored and armed, right? He's got the two swords, right? He's got a sword in each hand. It's all very impressive and stuff. But there's obviously no way he can stand in front of the cavalry charge of Eorl and Faelorov here. Yes, he's standing in for the East Königis. Yes, the Eastern Kings. Absolutely. I love Faelorov's head. That's my favorite part of this image. Well, I love the body posture of the dude as well. But I like the head of Faelorov here, and with his mouth open in a scream of battle here, looking like he's about to bite the guy in the face too. You cannot stand against the Rohirrim and their horses here. Again, the mismatch, the sudden onslaught, all conveyed here. The asymmetry of this image is also really cool, how it's like sort of rounded corners, rectangular, right? Except for that bottom left-hand corner. So it's which seems to almost like lift up, it's like the vacuum that's left after the charge of the horse, right? Indicating the sort of the forward movement of the horse, like almost upward movement of the horse there. I think it's really cool. And of course, the one with the corner, right, is the bottom right, where what the Easterling is falling into. Yeah. We definitely have the death of the East König is here. Absolutely, the death of the Eastern Kings. Okay, then we looked at the oath picture and the giving of Rohan, which I'm pretty sure is what that is meant to focus upon. And then here, of course, we have Eorl in his hall, or on his throne, rather. We can see that symbol of Rohan with the horse heads and the front legs of the horse, which we see, of course, in their architecture all over the place. And you see him seated on his throne with his feet wide apart and his sword across his knees with the hand on the hilt, right? He is prepared for battle, and his sword is at rest. He is not at war. He's not wearing a helm, right? He's wearing robes instead of armor, so he is at peace in his majesty, but his hand is on the hilt of his sword. I love the sort of symmetry between the throne and the crown, right? How both of those have a very similar shape there, and this is the first time we see his face from the front. He's been in profile, in not quite perfect profile in all of them, but in almost all of them he's been in we haven't seen the hair on both sides of his head yet, right? So the way that his head is framed by his hair and his beard and the crown, right, really sort of it kind of puts his face here in the center of this picture, the face of the king looking out at you, right? And really, as the viewer, it's the only time, yes, he's always looking off to the side, almost the only time that see here he's looking down at Phaeroth, he's looking at the Gondorian there, yeah, charging forward over there. So here, when you are looking at Eorl the Young in his majesty on his throne, he's looking right out at you, right? So if you're, a Rohirric person on sort of pilgrimage to Eorl's Hallow, then, he's going to be looking straight at you. His hand, he's holding up his left hand, right? He's got his right hand on the pommel of the sword. He's holding up his left hand like this, like in blessing there, right? The way this, as Kyrian is doing in the previous one, makes it look like I'm talking, right? This doesn't mean I'm talking. This means my blessing upon you, my people, right? You are here to it's like you are appearing before the throne of Eorl and he is blessing you, right? That's a really cool effect that they create here. And look how much fancier the outline is, right? Yeah. Then we have the transfer to Brago. The sword, which was, notice how the sword was in his right hand was on the sword on his throne, right? And now he has the sword reversed in his hand, right? So, if you look at how his right hand is on the sword hilt again, but it's reversed. He's not holding it like he's ready to wield the sword. He's turned the blade down, and he's handing over it. And notice how he's handing it over, and Brago has his hand above his father's hand, right? He is surrendering the sword and giving it to Brago. Brago's taking it in his left hand, right? So but again, he's covering his father's hand as he is, sort of taking responsibility. Notice that his right hand, Brago's right hand, is on his chest in that I am receiving gesture that we saw Eorl doing with Kyrian, right? But here he is receiving specifically, the authority of being the king and war leader of the Rohirrim. So he's accepting the sword in his left hand. Eorl is now wearing his crown as before, but now we see him in, well, I don't think this is necessarily armor. This just looks to be sort of formal wear. But he is turned towards his son. Notice how his feet are further apart than Brago's. He's advancing towards him, right? Whereas Brago is more of a standing still posture. So again, the movement is from left to right. The movement is from Eorl to Brago as he is bestowing upon him. I'm really interested in that medallion that he's wearing. Was he wearing a medallion? Sorry. Is he wearing a medallion in the other? No, he's not. I didn't think he was when he's on the throne. Yeah, so that medallion is new. He's got a belt in that one, but he doesn't have the medallion. We can't see the belt buckles here, but yeah, I wonder what that signifies. On the one hand, I suppose it could just be some sign of increased wealth and prosperity as he has ruled, Rohan well. during most of his life. There's, of course, Brago bareheaded, right, before his father. His father wearing the crown and Brago bareheaded, sort of in respect. But, of course, my favorite thing is the left hand of Eorl, the left hand on the shoulder of his son, right? A very affectionate gesture. So you have the sort of formal kingly gesture with the right hand and the affectionate paternal gesture with the left hand. Notice also that his knees are slightly bent. Again, sort of showing the movement like he's walking, not standing. But I also can't avoid the way in which his son, though shorter than he is, right, lesser than his father, yet is sort of more upright, and, you know, as if he is ready to take on the mantle of responsibility. Mantle, of course, he's literally wearing a large cape, a large mantle here. Yeah. Cool, and then the death scene. The death of Phaeroff, who has been pierced by many arrows, and the death of Eorl the Young, pierced by many arrows. Look at the border, how the border becomes these two horses, which I don't think we've seen elsewhere. It's mostly just been a border. I mean, all four of these over here are borders. Sometimes things get integrated, like that knotwork into the border at the bottom over there, and some knotwork along the side and the river along the bottom. And the, you know, again, just the border there. And then, of course, we have the really schmancy one, which also imitates the shape of the throne, right, to show the regal status there. Here again, back to a simple border with the knotwork on either side. I love the symmetry there, again, kind of paralleling the father and the son. But then here you have actual images, right? The border becomes the horses, both of them looking down, right? These symbols of Rohan, the rearing front hooves and the arched neck and head of the white horse, both of them looking down at Eorl, right? Like making direct eye contact with his face, as if, like, you know, the whole sort of like Rohirric tradition is looking down upon him in his final agony, but also his final glory, right? And the other thing, Phaeroff's head thrown back very realistically here. I mean, you can almost see poor Phaeroff screaming in agony. His sword, I don't think, is broken, though it's sort of smudged. You know, the image is sort of smudged right across the middle of the sword, which makes it look like it might be broken, but I don't think it necessarily is broken. With his hair streaming out around him, the thing that is most striking to me about this image is his face. He's looking directly at the viewer. Exactly, Phil. This is where I caught myself when I was saying, you know, the only one in which he's looking right at the viewer was the one when he's sitting on the throne and blessing the visitor. Except it's not, right? Just as I was about to say that, or just as I was saying that, I passed by this one looking around again at the others. And no, he's staring straight at you here. So here he is. It's like a final, you know, message to the viewers, right? To remember, you know, the glory of Eorl fallen in battle, you know, that he died as bravely as he had lived and all that. His face also, the lines on his face, I wish I could zoom in even further, but I don't think I can. I'm just about as close to it as I can get. Yeah, there's a little closer. His mouth looks like it's open, like he's crying out in pain as he's being shot with all the arrows. But these lines across the middle of his face, the ones that look like they kind of go like this. Yeah, counting arrows. I was counting arrows too. And I think it's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arrows in Phaeroff. And 1, 2, I think there are 4 arrows in Eorl. There's one over here in his side and one in his abdomen, and one that looks like it's sticking right out of his solar plexus, and this other one that looks like it's sticking out of his shoulder. This might possibly not be an arrow, but I think maybe it is. Yeah, I think I can see the fletching up there right behind the mane of Felaroth there. So, yeah, so, anyway, as I was saying, do you see those lines on his face that I'm talking about? There's his mouth, right, which looks to be open, and then there's the line of his mouth and nose, right, and little marks of, like, to show his eyes. I think his eyes are closed, but then there are these lines. I don't get these lines, whether it's like hair in his face, just because he's all tousled around as he's falling, like Felaroth is all tousled around. They could be his beard lines, I guess. I mean, he would be presumably bearded, though I guess the reason that's taking me by surprise is that his beard is longer over here. But I suppose his beard could just be kind of pointing towards us. Yeah, it's, of course, very telling that this final image of Eorl's career is not like the king laid out in state, right? It's not, you know, the like, and, you know, Eorl goes to the peace of his fathers or anything like that, right? The last image is one of him in agony, crying out, as Felaroth is in agony, screaming out. But it kind of shows you the values of the Rohirric society, doesn't it? Him lying peacefully on a bed or on a bier, right, would not be, that's not the image they want to retain, right? Him dying more gloriously in battle is the thing that they would want to retain, right? The fact that he died in agony on the battlefield with his sword lifted up in his hand, as if, you know, still to strike at his enemies. He's not dropped his weapon, and it does not appear to be broken. Still on horseback, even though he and the horse both have been, you know, stabbed full of arrows. What I can't help but notice, although Felaroth's face and mouth is very realistic and sort of three-dimensional, most of the rest of his body is not. And Phil, I was just looking at his tail too. Look at Felaroth's tail here, right? The sort of the looking like Eorl's hair, if that's Eorl. We see the realistic tufts of hair down on his hooves, or near his hooves as well, and his flying mane. And we generally see that. Again, that's what his tail looks like, you know, clumps of three-dimensional hair, right? Whereas the tail of Felaroth in the death scene is weird. Weird because it's not like that at all. It's like white with black lines, right? It's like completely two-dimensional, that part of the image. His feet still look the same. His right foreleg is pulled up and again kind of projecting out towards us, like his head is turned towards us. But the tail is weird, especially since, even notice how three-dimensional the two horses up here look, right? Like the border is flat, it's flat, and then like it takes on dimension, right, as it gets to the horses there. So we have this very pronounced 3D effect, but the tail, and even to a large extent, Eorl's body itself looks flat. I mean, look at the leg on the side of Felaroth there. Look how, I mean, doesn't he look flat? Eorl himself, as well as the tail and the mane of the horse as well, look totally two-dimensional in this picture. Again, very strikingly differently from the other pictures. And that's very interesting to me. Like, are they trying to represent, I don't know. Is there a kind of, I mean, is it part of sort of acknowledging his fall? You know, his, you know, that, I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with it. I mean, of course, it's possible just that this particular piece of art did not succeed as completely as the other ones in that way, that, you know, the attempt of showing this much wild action was, you know, too ambitious for the artist, perhaps. I mean, it could simply be an artistic failure, but artistic failures aren't nearly so much fun to talk about. Yes, the swirls by the horse's neck, exactly. This, which I assume to be his mane, but again, it looks more two-dimensionally stylized than the rest of them. And again, I don't know how to articulate my thoughts about it. It's almost like, are they attempting to sort of represent, like, this isn't the real Eorl and Felaroth, right? Like, this is the flat version of them. Like, they've been killed, right? But like the real Eorl and Felaroth live on, so we don't show, you know, I don't know. It certainly does depict the significance of the horse, Zalarot, at least in one sense, right? I mean, he's certainly very prominent. And in some ways, the suffering of the horse is much more acutely demonstrated here than Eorl's suffering. But yeah, that there could be a kind of a symbolic flatness of them in death, right? It's important sort of that they died well, but I don't know. Anyway, yes, I know, Master Yonda, we have gone very art history here, but hey, I mean, this is important stuff here. And I was just noticing as I was going around too, we've got these horsehair braids all around, right? People have left them all along all of the uprights here as well, as against the base of the relief over there. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Cool. Whoa, yeah, okay, we're just about out of time. Yeah, those are spares. Well, that was awesome. I love looking at the images of Eorl. Ooh, just noticed something. Oh, let's see. Okay, yeah, so we're not done. Any significance to the varying heights in which these pictures are placed on the stones? Well, some of it would seem to just be what fits best on the stone, honestly. But yeah, I can't see any obvious pattern. Like, why should this one, the charging towards the battlefield, be lowest? I mean, I could see why this one would be highest, you know, the moment of his triumph at the field of Celebrant, which is sort of the culmination of the first half, right? But I don't see why this one would be lowest. Over on the other side, looking at the big picture, him on the throne is the highest. These make a little bit more sense. You know, notice there's like the ascent from the giving up to sitting on the throne, and then a descent down to his death. So the overall shape of the heights of the images on this side would seem to fit the narrative, but I don't know that I can do it as clearly on this side. This one is the one that sort of throws me off. I would have expected sort of rising imagery. You know, if the last one were tallest and they all built up to it, it would make a little more sense to me. Yeah, I do to imperfections in the rock, that kind of thing, you know, kind of pragmatic reasons, I would think would be the largest. Yeah. Oh, by the way, one other thing that I noticed. He's holding the sword in his left hand. I don't know why he's holding a sword in his left hand in the relief. He's wearing a saddle too, which we don't see him doing elsewhere, but he's in a saddle. His face is turned towards us. He's, I believe, wearing his crown, with his armor gleaming and his mantle out behind him, and his hair. His beard is quite short. I mean, I think the fact that the sword is in his left hand has to convey that he's not actually in battle here, right? This is more of a sort of a dramatic moment than any kind of a battle sequence. Ethelwald, is he riding towards Rohan? Possibly. Oh, wait, is he actually pointed that way? Yep. If I point myself in the same direction Failoroff is headed, it's out towards Rohan, yeah. So, Ethelwald, you're thinking then that it's kind of a rallying thing, right? Like to Rohan or for Rohan. And that his right hand, which is down by his side, and his left hand is up with the sword in his hand. That it's less of a, like, I shall fight for you, and more of a, come fight with me kind of gesture. That would make some sense to me. And then the two very solemn warriors on either side in their wooden statues, carrying some pole that I don't really get. Yeah, the right hand does kind of blur into his body. It is a little bit weird, that right hand. I mean, he just seems to have a fist on his, on his right hip and thigh there. Which is fine. He's not carrying a shield in any picture. So I wouldn't have expected a shield in any way. Even if he transferred his sword to his left hand for some reason in order to wave it around, I guess, he wouldn't be carrying a shield on his right anyhow. So if his sword is in his left, doing nothing with his right makes a certain amount of sense. Yeah, I think he is. The length of his beard suggests to me that he's meant to be young in this picture, that this is not Eorl like riding to his last defeat. It's here in the wold. This is him. This is him early in his career, quite likely riding, rallying the troops towards Rohan in the field of Celebrant. Yeah. See, I just can't leave. It's so much to talk about. Steps. Oh, we missed an opportunity to put carving on the steps. Oh well. I noticed that the Rohirrim are generally not all that much for carving stone. It's another thing that's significant about those markers, right? About those images. Yeah. And oh yeah, sorry. Sorry, Epic Ogre. I didn't get to your lore question today. We're focused on interpreting the images here at Eorl's Hallow. So we've spent pretty much we did defend the Thane, but yeah, all right, yeah, we've got the horses, the symbols, all looking down on him like they are in that final image. Yes. Very cool. Well, that is an awesome place. And I'm pretty sure I did not go here before, because no quest sends you here, so... No, I must have done. I must have done because I completed the deed. Said it was definitely in the deed. Well, anyway. I know I didn't spend that much time looking at the images before, so very cool. Yeah, and we have thatch around it. That is really kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah, Hologrow, you're right. The entire session was a lore question. I mean, we only did a very limited amount of action. Okay. Well, I am already past my time, and here's Druid's Fire being super patient with me as I indulge myself in the images at Eorl's Hallow. Let me head back to Floodwend so that we can be ready to pick up the epic next time in Floodwend. Yeah. There we go. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay, so Gryfflet will be back next week as we head off into the Norcrofts next week, having pretty much finished off the Wold, so that's pretty exciting. Just a couple brief announcements here at the end. We have started our fall fundraising campaign at Signum University. I hope you'll consider donating, giving a tax-deductible donation to support Signum University and its ongoing work. We will have our my annual marathon. My annual Lotro marathon is going to be next weekend, October 5th. So a week. Tomorrow week, October 5th. For my marathon, I'm going to go with my top character, Wigand, my oldest character. He's level 100 and he's in Minas Tirith right now. I'm following through the epic line with him, and so I'm gonna just polish off Minas Tirith. I think I have a little bit there left to do. He'd done some wandering around there and discovered all the different terraces and stuff last time. And then so we're gonna get Wigan to Hanbury Khan. That's the goal. I wanna get to Hanbury Khan and see the Ride of the Rohirrim. I'm not gonna get Wigan up to the battle, I think, because that's gonna be a little bit too much. But my goal is to get him as close to the battle as I can get him by the end of that. So I'm going to start at noon Eastern time on October the 5th. We'll be on the Signum server, twitch.tv/SignumU, not the server, our Twitch channel. We'll be going through the later side of Minas Tirith and then up into Hanbury Khan and the Ride of the Rohirrim. It's going to be it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, don't worry. And I'm not chances of me getting distracted by stuff really, really small. And so I've never seen the Wozes before, so there's going to be a lot of, as always whenever I'm running Gryfflet, you're going to be seeing me do quests and visit areas I've never at all been to, because Wigand is my highest character. So looking forward to that, to seeing some new stuff and doing some new things. Anyway, so again, that's going to be Saturday, October 5th. So I hope that you will join me for that at noon Eastern time, going until I don't know when, midnight-ish. Please do visit signumuniversity.org/fund if you want to make a tax-deductible donation to support Signum University. I look forward to seeing you guys again next week, and I'll tell you more about more stuff that's going on with our fundraising campaign when I see you guys again next week. Some of you I will see at New England Moot down in Amherst, Massachusetts tomorrow and Sunday. So anyway, that's going to be a lot of fun as always. So it's our first New England moot, but I always love our regional moots, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of you guys there, and looking forward, of course, to our next regional moot, which is going to be in the Midwest, out in Iowa, Waterloo, Iowa, on the 12th of October. All right, Thanks, everybody. I'll let you go and hand you over to Druid's Fire, as always. So thanks, everybody, and I will see you guys next week. Bye now. Thanks for joining in on my rambles around Standing Stone's brilliant digital adaptation of Tolkien's world. If you enjoy these adventures, please consider supporting this and other entertaining educational programming by donating at signumuniversity.org/fund.